All right, the Eastern Conference semifinals begin in Toronto, while the Western Conference first rounder ends in Denver. It's TNT NBA tip-off presented by Auto Trader. From Atlanta Studio J, Ernie Johnson with Shaq and Kenny and Charles. This is going to be a fun night. Bottom of the hour, Sixers and Raptors playing game one in Toronto. Spurs and Nuggets, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Game 7, followed by Inside the NBA. Now, the Sixers and Raptors took similar paths to the Eastern Conference semis. They both lost their openers at home, then ripped off 4 straight wins. They're both top 5 in field goal percentage and assists in the postseason. They both have star power, and they both have players who will ensure a huge TV rating in Cameroon, where the Sixers' Joel Embiid and the Raptors' Pascal Siakam were born. Ian Eagle and Greg Anthony will have the call. Roz Gold-Onwoode works the sidelines, and RGO standing by live in Toronto. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Hi, guys. How you doing? Hey, Jay. A lot of love to the Cameroonians and the Africans representing on the court. One of them, Joel Embiid, and we know how he's battled with left knee soreness all through the first round of playoffs. Well, it's the same story. In the first round, he played about 24 minutes a game. He said today at shoot-around, he's expecting even more time and even more load, and because he knows he has his hands full with Marc Gasol, and that is one of the marquee matchups of this series between Joel Embiid and Marc Gasol. And EJ, one thing is for certain. Joel Embiid will not be calling Marc a nobody, as he infamously did against Jared Dudley in the last series against Brooklyn. He told me he has a lot of respect for Marc Gasol, not only because he was a former Defensive Player of the Year, he said, or because he watched how he was the face of the franchise for the Memphis Grizzlies, but he said the two of them have a relationship, and sometimes Marc Gasol will even reach out and text him and give him a little bit of advice or feedback for things he's doing on the court. Now, yesterday, I sat down with Marc Gasol, and he too is very impressed with Joel Embiid, but he felt one area that he could assert himself was defensively with his physicality. And I asked Marc, where, when, how can you be physical with Joel Embiid? And here's what he had to say.
Every time you cross half court is a matter of fighting for real estate all over the floor. If it's at the elbow, the post, send a pick and roll and a rebound, it's kind of a whole battle. I mean, it's kind of basketball, and you just make it stand and try to fight it, and hopefully offensively you can go at him a couple times, which make him work.
Another aspect to handle with Joel Embiid is his mouth. He likes to talk, to trash talk, to annoy, to troll. And so I asked Marc Gasol, will you engage in that with Joel? And Marc said to me, I don't hear trash talk. In fact, trash talk is not really a part of his game. He said, if anything, he'll talk to himself to get himself going. So this battle, it may not be vocal, but it'll definitely be physical. Guys?
Roz Gold-Onwoode from Toronto. Fellas, that is certainly a matchup to watch, but when we first knew this was going to be the series, the thing we talked about, Charles, was Ben Simmons, Kawhi Leonard, their history in the regular season, in which Kawhi Leonard only played 3 games. They won them all, but he was a pain to Ben Simmons.
He's obviously the best two-way player in the NBA. And Ben Simmons, the advantage Kawhi has, he don't have to respect Ben Simmons' jump shot. So he's really got 2 defenders. He's a great defender. I mean, 8 turnovers
per game. Yeah, 24 in those 3 games.
Man, that's crazy. That's a lot. See, Kawhi has an advantage. Number one, he's a great defender, but also, and Kenny knows this, if you're playing against a guard who can't shoot, it really helps you play defense. You really got 2 defenders.
You can hone on. You can hone in. The one thing that Kawhi is able to do, again, is he's probably one of the few guys who has the size to play out front and have the same quickness. Typically guys that are guarding Ben Simmons, he's going to have a quickness advantage or he's going to have a size advantage. Against Kawhi, he doesn't really have a size advantage, and he definitely doesn't really have a quickness advantage. So now the lack of jump shot makes you difficult to get your stuff off, get in your bag if you're Ben Simmons. Because the other thing, Shaq, is like, when I used to play against Muggsy Bogues, he was such a great thing, but he wasn't a great shooter. And they used to say, play off him. I was like, no, if you play off him, then you make him great. You make him a passer. But no, so what Kawhi does, he takes up the space, and Marcus all talked about real estate. He takes it up, and he says, no, I'm not going to let you see things, and I'm quick enough to stay with you and long enough to block your shot possibly.
And not only that, if he jams him up, he could drive him to the help. Like, Charles said, he's playing against two defenders. But he's definitely in his head. But, Ben has to get through that. And this is the time, like you always say, you make your fame. We all know who Ben Simmons is. But if you want to go to the next level, he has to get through Kawhi. And the battle of the big men, I used to like when big guys say what they was going to do, but he makes a good point. You got to be physical with Joel Embiid. The question is, after he's physical with Joel Embiid, will he do what me and you hate, Chuck? Will he stay out there and shoot threes, or will he fight? If he fights, they'll win. If he don't fight, I'm with Toronto.
Well, I actually think this was a great under-the-radar pickup, Marc Gasol, because Marc Gasol is one of the few guys, when he's standing next to Embiid, doesn't look small. Like, normally you see Joel Embiid, like when he play against an Al Horford, you just like, man, that's a big old dude. But Marc Gasol's size, he's over 7 feet tall. He's a good weight. So that's going to be a great matchup. And listen, Joel Embiid going to have to play more than 20-some minutes if Philly got any chance in this series.
By the way, Kawhi Leonard, 13-0 in his career against the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's crazy.
10-0 as a Spur, 3-0 in the games that he played.
That's a crazy stat.
As a Raptor. And also, Philadelphia has lost 13 games in a row in Toronto heading into this series. And another one of those things, and something's got to give. Philadelphia just overpowered Brooklyn, 122 points a game. Against Orlando, the Raptors held them to 92 points a game. Where's this one going to fall? Is Toronto going to be able to control these guys to some extent? Philadelphia shot 50% over their last 4 games.
Toronto will, because Kawhi is going to be all over Ben. Mark's going to be all over Embiid. The others are definitely going to step up. But a lot of times, if the superstars don't get the others going, you really don't have a game plan. And Kawhi is that type of guy. He really, Chuck's been saying this. I've been saying it. He's definitely a superstar. They are at home. He's going to have them playing well. I like Toronto in this series because Philly hasn't proven that much to me yet.
Well, if Philly, I picked Toronto to win the series also. But if they're going to win this series, it's going to be Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. Those are 2 guys. Siakam is a problem.
Big problem.
He's a big problem. But if Philly, because like I say, I think they're going to be able to control Embiid and Simmons. The wild cards are Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler. That, in my opinion.
And this is why I think that they're Kawhi Leonard's 13-0 against them. Because if you think about it, if you were playing against a Steve Nash team, no matter what happened, you had to play fast. You played against a Jason Kidd team, you had no how you play against a Rajon Rondo when he was at Celtics, he forced the pace. You played against Ben Simmons, you had to play at a certain pace. Kawhi Leonard says, no, you're not playing
at my pace.
You're going to play at my pace because I could defend you, and now I could make it difficult for you to play at that pace.
I have the sticky notepad out. Chuck, you got Raptors?
Yes, sir.
You got Raptors in how many?
7.
Raptors in 7. Kenny, you've got?
Raptors.
In?
5.
Damn.
Shaq?
Raptors.
And he gonna
do I have to say in to everybody?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I was just being polite. You said to them.
Raptors in. All right. Okay. I thought you might say Raptors
boom,
in.
Look, boom,
Okay.
bam,
Right.
boom, bam. I thought you were going to hit me with the boom, bam.
Okay.
Raptors in 6.
Raptors in 6. And I've got.
Trying to be polite, Mr.
And I've got the Raptors in 6.
I appreciate
it's
your
unanimous.
answer. I was just being polite.
No,
Okay, guys, let's get ready for the greatest words in sports.
That was mine.
Game 7.
Yes.
Ernie, I've been loving you since 19.
I know. That was my bad. I was out of line. I apologize.
It's all right. You don't have to apologize.
We'll take a look at San Antonio and Denver Game 7 when we come back.
Jurassic Park is rowdy in Toronto. Looks like the dead of winter. A lot of winter up there in the 6. Philadelphia, Toronto set to get the second round of playoffs started this evening. You could see that game on TNT at 7:30. Joel Embiid averaged 26 points, almost 12 rebounds a game against the Raptors during the regular season. Let's welcome in Greg Anthony, our analyst for tonight's TNT game. Okay, so GA, Joel said that he's expected to play more minutes after just playing 24 in round one. What's the latest on his situation?
All systems go. Just spoke with Brett Brown a little bit ago. And, remember that series, there were 2 games that were pretty close. But for the most part, the Sixers in the games he played were able to take care of business. And that also had, I think, an impact on the amount of minutes. But I do think in order for them to win this series, have any chance of winning, he's going to have to play a tremendous role. I think you'll see his minutes up around that 32 to 34 range. Now, keep in mind also, you're not playing back-to-backs. There's going to be more opportunity to rest within the series, which I think helps him and obviously helps the Sixers as well.
Hey, G.A., Caron Butler here. Is there a key matchup in this series that can really swing it for anyone? Like, I know you got one in mind. I know we think alike in this space, so who you got?
Well, I'm gonna give you this one. The biggest matchup for me is Brett Brown and Nick Nurse. I really feel like that is going to determine the winner of this series. Who makes the best adjustments game to game? Who has the best game plan? Who has a sense of what they need to do in that moment? I think the coaching in this series, more so than any other in some respects, is going to determine who wins it. Because of all the things that have happened over the course of this season. You look at these 2 teams, they are wholly different from where they were at the start of the new year, because of the trade deadline acquisitions that were made, the impact that those guys are having, how it's changed their rotation. So for me, Nick Nurse and Brett Brown, man, I think those 2 guys and their staffs are going to have far more impact on a series than you would ordinarily have just because of the circumstance.
Hey, G.A., Billy King here. Looking at it, did Brett Brown talk about turnovers? They averaged 22.5 this year against Toronto. Ben Simmons, I think, in game 1 of their game earlier this year had 11. Another game he had 7. So did they talk about turnovers and trying to limit them?
Absolutely. And you know what, Billy? I asked him the 2 biggest concerns coming in. He said our defensive transition, 1, and turnovers. Remember, Toronto is number 1 in the league at points off turnovers. They are the best. When you look at how long and athletic, when you get Siakam and Kawhi Leonard, those guys also lead the league in deflections. So if they're able to disrupt your rhythm and get out in the open floor, you are in for a long night. Ben Simmons averaged 8 turnovers a game during the regular season against this Toronto team. So he's going to have to be much more sure with the basketball. And I go back to last season. Philadelphia won a first-round series. They played against a Boston team that was just more physical. Well, guess what? Toronto is a similar type of team. They're a very physical team. They're not going to be switching a lot. They like to keep bodies on bodies. And so let's see how much growth has Philly had from a season ago, because they're going to have a similar dynamic that they face with the Raptors.
G.A., you mentioned that growth. A guy to pay attention to, Joel Embiid again, has struggled against Marc Gasol, averaging 14 points over 4 turnovers, shooting 34% from the floor in those head-to-head matchups against Gasol. I mean, they haven't met since Gasol got traded to the Raptors as far as Gasol and Embiid head-to-head, because he sat out that first matchup. But what do you make of that? Why does Embiid struggle against Gasol so much?
Well, first of all, Marc Gasol is going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. Marc Gasol has been Defensive Player of the Year in our league, and it was a part of those grit and grind teams that were a defensive-oriented bunch. So he's a terrific defender, and I think some of that also goes on Embiid, and that sometimes, and Billy and Tough Juice will tell you, sometimes Joel will fall in love with jump shots and not get 2 feet in the paint. And I think if he settles at all, that's a win for Marc Gasol. I do expect Joel to be better in this series, but it's not going to be easy. It's not just going to be Gasol. Remember, he's going to be matched up with Ibaka a lot in this series, and because both guys play differently, it actually creates a challenge for for Joel, because he doesn't get that consistent rhythm. You're going to be defended a lot differently when Ibaka's on you as opposed to Marc Gasol. But listen, Joel Embiid is as dominant a guy as we have in our league. He's gaining experience, and I think he's going to learn from what happened over the course of the regular season with Marc Gasol and what happened to him last season in the postseason against Al Horford.
Hey, GA, one more thing. Congratulations to you and the family, Cole, Anthony.
Yeah.
Hey. What?
Why we got to go there?
Appreciate that.
Hey, we're friends. We're almost like family here.
Okay.
We got to say congratulations to GA, you know?
I'm happy
Yeah,
you're
we kept it in the ACC.
Okay,
Billy, we
all
kept it in
right,
the ACC. And, hey, I got to give a shout-out to my man Tough Juice, man. The Juice Buds, man.
Come on, man.
My
You know I
family
had
loves
to take
them.
care of you,
On
brother.
the real, man. We've been killing those, man.
I got to keep the packages coming. I got you.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. Love it.
All right, GA, looking forward to seeing you on the broadcast. Thank you, my friend.
You got it, guys.
So in 3 head-to-head matchups with Kawhi Leonard, Ben Simmons averaging 8 turnovers a game. Let's say that again. 8 turnovers per game. Billy, what do you make of that?
Well, a lot of it is Ben is not looking to the basket when he's penetrating. He'll start driving the basketball, and he's not looking at the basket. You see on this dribble, he's going, pushing it, but he's not even looking at the rim. And there you're all, like you talked about long arms. GA talked about long arms. They're there deflecting the basketball. When he penetrates, you'll see him. He's going to go in the post here. He's going to catch it in a great position. Just shoot a baby hook right here. He's not even looking at the basket. There's 3 defenders. He's trying to make a pass to Dario.
Yeah.
It's a turnover. You've got to look at the basket, try to put pressure, score in the basketball rather than always looking to make passes. Right here on the out of bounds, you've got a ball fake if you're taking the ball out of the bounds. They're playing you for the pass. And on this one, you can't be trying to go behind your back against Toronto. Kawhi and those guys are too good. They're going to be all over the floor. Ben's got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball. If he's the point guard and you're giving up 8 turnovers a game, that's 8 possessions you don't have. In the playoffs, you can't afford to give up 8 possessions like that.
I feel like nobody's mastered the art of KYP better than Kawhi Leonard. And look.
He was all over that.
Yeah, all over that. And look, he knows his personnel extremely well. So when you have a guy like Ben Simmons that you know not going to shoot the ball, and you could play and pack the paint as much as possible, therefore he's going to be a liability out there. So you have to be a threat. You got to look at the basket. You have to be okay with missing the shot and the opportunity. Otherwise, it's going to amount to a turnover and end up in transition for the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard averaged 4 steals a game in this series. So certainly the stats back up how incredible he's been on defense.
You know, the difference between him and Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, is when he's going to dunk and try to finish when he's going to hold. Ben's always going to pass the basketball. If he wants to be successful in Kawhi, he's got to look to score. You're 6'9", try to dunk, try to get fouls, and then those passes will open up because everybody's playing him for the pass first, shot second.
A guy who definitely is looking to score when he gets the ball anywhere near the basket, LaMarcus Aldridge for those San Antonio Spurs. Slow and steady, winning the race. Will he be the key to a Spurs winning Game 7 tonight? We examine that and more next on Game Time.